Thank you everyone for joining us for another session of CyberE71 Thursday, one of your favorite thought leadership session about cyber security and innovation in the UAE and beyond. So CyberE71 Thursday is under the umbrella of CyberE71, the innovative initiative launched by the UAE Cybersecurity Council to empower the innovator of tomorrow in cyber security. Today, we have the pleasure of having with us Mr. Bاتريك Pitchappa, the Vice President, Risk Technology of FAB. Bاتريك, thank you very much for being with us. So, as usual, the flow of the session will be to give the floor to Bاتريك for an introductory session about data security and its latest trends. And then we can open the floor to some structured Q&A, both from the moderation perspective, but as well from our startup and attendance here. So thank you again, and welcome, Bاتريك. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Asma. Thank you all for joining this session. It's really a pleasure to be your keynote speaker for today. And it's really a pleasure to talk about cybersecurity and data security in particular. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, a few anecdotes, some of the incidents that are happening in the world today, and how things have progressed, right? Now, as you know, data is the new currency, right? The more data you have, the more rich you are. Now, this could apply to any industry, right? It could be banking, it could be insurance, it could be healthcare, it could be education, it could be automobile, it could be space research, anything, right? Anything that requires, any industry requires data to be successful. And the more data we can find, the more research is happening. Now, a couple of years ago, my son finished his degree, college degree, his university degree, and then he was looking at doing his master's. And he came to me and he said, "Data is everything data today. So I want to do my master's in something related to data." And so he did his master's in business analytics. Now, if you know about data, business analytics plays a huge role in analyzing a business, taking a whole bunch of data, putting it in, crunching it, whether you use a data lake or any other big data solutions, you just, crunch it and show it on a dashboard, which tells how the business has progressed, what is the forecast for the business based on historical data that you have, right? So youngsters, I mean, I'm talking from a real life experience in my family where my son is now into data analytics, and he joined KPMG last year, in the as a consultant in data analytics. So it is one of the top fields. It is probably the hottest fields right now in the industry, right? So it is. Data is getting more popular. You may be watching a football match, or you may be watching any sports, basketball, baseball, cricket, doesn't matter. Today, when a player comes to play, let's say you're watching cricket and a batsman comes to play, there is so much of statistics that come into the picture. They even tell you how many shots the particular batsman was in control of. Now, it is all about data. It's all about crunching data, looking at the data and saying, okay, this is how it has to be, and this is how the player has played. And so this is our prediction. And today, any match, whether it is in any sport, right? Any game, any match, there is a win predictor, right? It's all about data again. Right, they take the data from how the particular team has, or the club has played over that season, and they match it against the other club, which also has data. And then they say, okay, this particular club, now let's say this is the English Premier League, right? Now Liverpool is on the top of the table. Now let's say Liverpool is playing Manchester United, and United, unfortunately, is not having a great season this year. So the win predictor takes all the data, it crunches it in, and it shows all this into a predictor where it says, okay, Liverpool probably has 68% of winning this match, right? Something like that. So all this is data. Now, the more data you have, the more you are sitting on, you know, a ticking time bomb. So basically, the more money you have, people try to steal it from you. People try to get it from you, right? So the more data you have, people try to steal it from you. Now, this reminds me of an incident that happened about 7 or 8 years ago. I was with BNP Paribas at the time, and I was, traveling from Mumbai to Singapore, and I had a late night flight. The flight was at 11:30 in the night, so it was an all-night flight, and early morning I would land in Singapore. So the boarding announcement came. I was getting into the flight. I was just about to put my luggage, my hand luggage, in the overhead bin and sit in my seat when my phone rang. I mean, when your phone rings at somewhere around 10:30, 11 in the night, it's always bad news, right? Most of the time. So I picked up the call, and I heard something which a CISO, a Chief Information Security Officer, never wants to hear. And this is the middle of the night, and somebody said, the person who called told me that we have been hacked. It was such a terrible experience. I mean, there were months, weeks and months of post-mortem and digital forensics and investigations and so many things that happen. It's a nightmare in data security when you get hacked. And about 1.4 million customer data of one of our sister concerns was leaked at the time, and it was bad. And we talk about data, but when you lose customer data, it becomes even more serious, right? None of us want our data. Now, let's say you are the customer of a bank. Would you like to have the bank lose your data? No, you don't want to. It could be a bank, it could be a university, or it could be an insurance company, it could be a healthcare, right? You go to the doctor, your data is with the doctor or with the hospital, and if the data gets stolen, all your health records are out in the air, right? So none of us want to do that. So now we are going to talk about latest trends in data security. So there is, as soon as we said latest trends, today there is nothing spoken without the intervention of artificial intelligence or AI. Right. So if we can go to the next slide. So we're going to talk about how there is a rise of sophisticated AI powered attacks. Now, there are two things here. We will come to how to protect your AI systems. But before that, today, attacks are just being at a huge levels, very, very high levels today. And the magnitude of the attacks are just too much to handle. You might have known the UAE especially was targeted on DDoS attacks last year, right? Distributed denial of service attacks. These kind of attacks, the attacks of this scale has never been seen in the history of cybersecurity. And especially the country of UAE was targeted for whatever reasons, right? So geopolitical reasons, we do not know. We won't get into that. But there were several organizations that were always targeted, many organizations that were targeted in the UAE. Not only in the UAE, around the world, this problem was happening. It was happening in China. It was happening in India. It was happening in the United States. It was happening in a lot of countries in Europe as well. Right. So it's not that it was isolated to the UAE. However, the UAE was also, part of that attack. And what they do today is, what is a DDoS attack or a DOS attack? A DOS attack is nothing but sending too much of information into a server or a service and bringing down the server or the service, right? Now, let's say you have a ticket booking system, and at a time only 1,000 people can book tickets simultaneously, right? Now, if you send 100,000 requests to that system, what will happen? The system will stop, it will break, and it will not take any more requests. So even a genuine uh, you know uh, uh, request will not be able to be processed, right? Now, imagine you're using AI. You're using AI systems across the world, across the internet, and you are trying to attack this, a system, and it becomes really impossible for cybersecurity teams to stop or prevent such an attack. Most of you would remember Zoom. 5 years ago, when we were all locked down into our homes during the COVID times, Zoom became very famous, right? Now, when Zoom became famous, there was also something called Zoom bombing that became famous. Most of you should remember it. What happened was AI and ML powered attackers started targeting Zoom meetings that were happening online. Now, during the lockdown times, our universities or schools were conducting classes on Zoom. At the same time, companies were also conducting their businesses on Zoom. So there was a board meeting of a very well-known company that was happening, and these AI systems that are watching these Zoom meetings found that there was a board meeting happening which was not secure. So what happened? The attackers got into the meeting, they took over the meeting, and then they started, sharing obscene, pictures in a board meeting where there were very, very senior people who were sitting and talking. Right. So this is what AI can do. So, as you see, criminals are increasingly using AI to develop more elaborate hacking tools, leading to more sophisticated attacks that are harder to detect and prevent. So, one of the major fears of a cybersecurity team is a zero-day attack. A zero-day attack is nothing but a system that is running. Most of you may remember the Log4j or similar kind of vulnerabilities that were that became famous in the last few years. And what happens is the system vulnerability is discovered by the OEM or the original equipment manufacturer, and then they say there is a vulnerability and we will come up with a fix for it. Now, before a fix is found, the time that is between the vulnerability being discovered and the fix being found is called the 0 day, right? During this time, the attackers can attack the system because they know that there is a vulnerability in the system, right? So 0 day attacks can have become very, very popular these days. Now imagine you train an AI engine to keep checking for 0 day attacks, and then the AI engine will automatically attack as soon as there is a 0 day vulnerability. Look how scary that is, right? Today, that is where we are, right? So rise of sophisticated AI powered attacks. And this also includes AI driven phishing scams, phishing. Today we get phishing emails from everywhere. Phishing happens on emails, on text messaging, on WhatsApp, on you name it, even on Instagram and LinkedIn. Today, there are phishing attacks that are happening, right? So if and combine that with AI, it becomes deadly. Malware, ransomware can also become very deadly when AI, gets into it. So there is a huge rise of AI powered attacks. And let's go to the next slide, please. And so what happens is that we need to have AI driven defense mechanisms, right? To combat AI attacks, you need to have AI defense mechanisms. So there are a lot of AI, based cybersecurity tools um, that are being invented or created these days, right? I personally used a product called uno.ai, uno.ai. This is an AI system that was developed by a friend of mine called Shashank Tiwari, and he lives in the Silicon Valley in the Bay Area in California, and he and his team, he's known to be an innovator, and he's a startup. So this is a startup that came up 2 or 3 years ago, where they came up with an AI engine which can do a lot of AI driven defense. Okay, it can look for compliance, regulatory mislaps, or it can look at Now I was talking about Log4j, right? Now let's say there's a 0 day vulnerability. An AI system can quickly scan your network and say where the patch should be applied, which systems have this vulnerability. So a very simple thing. And AI also kind of replaces the level one team. So let's say there is a security operations center, right? And there is a level one team, and this team does what they call a catch and dispatch. So what they do is they are watching the console of SIM or any other system where they are looking for any attacks or any abnormalities that are happening. Right now, during this time, what happens is, a human goes and humanly he or she looks at the alert and they take the alert, they check it whether it is genuine or not, and if it is a false alert they close it. If it is not a false alert, if it's a real alert, then they have to escalate it. Now when a human does this, it takes quite a bit of time, sometimes even 3 or 4 hours before a human can actually determine whether an alert is a real alert or not. Imagine this is done by AI. AI will be able to do it within seconds because everything is fed into AI. The AI engine is watching it, and AI can do a correlation between whether an alert is real or not within 3 or 4 seconds. Imagine a human doing this from 3 to 4 hours, in 3 to 4 hours, to bringing it down to 3 to 4 seconds. Now, in 3 to 4 hours, while the human is doing their, alert analysis, a hacker can get into the system and just do too much damage. Right. So this is where AI-driven defense becomes very important. So as I put here, cybersecurity professionals are also leveraging AI to develop better threat detection systems. So you detect the threat, predict future attacks, and automate incident response. So the one that I was talking about, right? There's an alert, it predicts the attack, and then it also shuts down the system. It automates the incident response. It automates the forensics. It automates, root cause analysis. A lot of things can be done. Okay, so AI can analyze vast amounts of data. So AI, the specialty of AI is it can go through data, within seconds and give you a lot of information to identify patterns and anomalies that may indicate a security threat. Okay, so I talked about AI-driven cyber attacks. I also talked about AI-driven defense mechanisms. Okay, now let's go to the next slide, please. All right. Now, when we talk about AI, we are setting up AI systems, AI defense systems also. However, what is happening is today, if AI is not checked, what people do is they start developing their own AI systems, right? Today, there is Microsoft Copilot available to everyone. You have Google Gemini available to everyone. You have DeepSeek. I'll come to DeepSeek a little later. Of course, you have ChatGPT, right? And you take all these, you create your own system and you start running it from a huge organization, and that becomes shadow AI. Those days, it used to be shadow IT, right? There is an IT team. They run all the IT systems. Now let's say you start developing a little application on one corner of an organization and you start running your own IT systems. What will happen? It will become unhinged, right? There won't be any control over a system like that. So detecting and shutting down shadow IT used to be a challenge. Now shadow AI is becoming a bigger challenge, right? So as we see the proliferation of unsanctioned AI models, see, these are models that will not be, like the chat GPT or the Gemini or the Copilot that we have. These are, LLMs that are created by people, students like you, startups like you, right? They create this. And sometimes, I'm not saying what you are doing is wrong. What happens is sometimes people do this without proper regulation, proper thought process, and that becomes a problem. So these AI models used by employees. Now, let's say somebody takes that AI model and they start using it in an organization without proper governance, possesses a significant risk to data security, right? Now, putting that in, you may think you're doing good for you and your organization. However, if there is issues there, it becomes very, very dangerous, right? So organizations need to implement clear governance policies, comprehensive workforce training, and diligent detection and response mechanisms to address this issue, which means, in simple terms, organizations should take a complete cognizant note of what is happening. They should do scans. They should do their background checks on a regular basis to ensure that there is no AI engine running on some corner of the organization on a virtual server which nobody was monitoring. Now, let's say this virtual server was open to the internet. It is a huge nuclear bomb that can explode anytime. All right. So it has to be properly done. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, now we talked about AI powered cyber attacks. We talked about AI powered defense mechanisms. We also talked about shadow AI. Now let's come to focus on data and AI security for trustworthy AI. Now let's say you are building an AI engine inside your company, right? You are producing, you're coming up with a product which uses AI end to end. Now this becomes a trustworthy AI because this is something you are doing in order to build up a, let's say it could be a fintech system, right, which predicts the future markets or future credit ratings, whatever it is, right? So the more you can have transparency and fairness and privacy built into it, that becomes even a trustworthy AI. Now what happens is AI and data security are essential ingredients because AI in itself is a huge amount of data. So when we talk about data security, we are also talking about securing the AI engine and the AI, the data that you are training for your AI engine to be secure as well. So this is something that is very important. So this becomes your what we call crown jewel. Right now, you're creating an AI product, and this data is your crown jewel, and so the crown jewels have to be secured at any cost. Right, so putting a lot of emphasis on this. Now I told you that I will come to DeepSeek, and all of you know, if you're following the AI stories, DeepSeek showed up suddenly a few weeks ago, right? And it took over the world by storm. ChatGPT was ruling the Gen AI world, and suddenly DeepSeek showed up, and it came from China, and it became such a big hit because DeepSeek was giving, somebody had put it on LinkedIn saying that they tried to create a business model with DeepSeek, and DeepSeek was just amazing. It gave that person a business model which even months and months of hard work humanly, which was equivalent to months and months of hard work when you do it with your human team, right, with manual effort. So it is just amazing. Now I don't know if you all were following. On the 28th of January, the DeepSeek, at the speed at which it came, it also got hacked, right? And when you go to status.deepseek.com, there was a big message which said that we have been attacked, and there is a fix in place. We are trying to put a fix in place. It was a very embarrassing moment for the creators of DeepSeek, right? Now if this can happen to an AI engine, it becomes very, very dangerous because so many people around the world have asked many questions and created so much of information, which, if it is stolen, it becomes a huge headache for people around the world. Right? If DeepSeek, which is a well-known, AI system, can be compromised, then smaller systems can be easily compromised. Right? So it has to be. We have to focus on data security, focus on AI security, and building a trustworthy AI system around the world. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about a few things that we should be doing. The first thing is about advanced encryption and anonymization techniques, right? Yeah, also ChatGPT has been hacked. Yeah, thanks for that tidbit. Yeah, it has been. Right, and it is. In fact, even 2 days ago, WhatsApp was hacked. So we know that, right? So hacking around the world is going on at a full swing, and we have to be very, very careful. Now, encryption. Anytime data security is spoken about, we talk about encryption. And I'm not going to go too deep into encryption because that is a different topic altogether. But I'm just going to mention it because homomorphic encryption and differential privacy are very important these days because they are gaining traction as they allow data to be analyzed and processed without compromising the confidentiality. right? So this is where we are heading towards. So the latest trends in data security, the topic of today is that we are coming up with encryption systems which will be very, very hard to break into. And as we are talking about quantum computing, now we may be using quantum computers to come up with encryption algorithms which will be very, very difficult for a human or any systems to be break into, right? Now we also have other encryptions, for example, or WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram. These are systems that have end-to-end encryption. So always use systems that have end-to-end encryption. Use email services that have encryption. So it is important that we are preventing our conversations to be eavesdropped, right? So eavesdropping has to be prevented at all cost. And anything online, whether it is a mobile app or an internet app, we have TLS or transport layer security, which is at the current version is 1.3. Right? This is HTTPS. All of us are familiar with it, and this is a time-tested system, time-tested protocol, a time-tested security system that will help web traffic to be encrypted. All right, so this is important for secure internet communications. We do a lot of online shopping these days. I spent about a decade at Visa, and I was in online security. When you shop using your Visa card, the last page, the OTP page. Remember when you put in your Visa card details, you put in your card expiry date, you put in your CVV, you put in your full name, you put in your email address, and then you submit, and then there is an OTP page that comes, right? It is called 3D Secure or verified by Visa. Now, interestingly, that is the project I was working on when I was at Visa from 2001 to 2010. And those days, it used to be a password. Today, it is an OTP, one-time password, right? So it is very. This is how technology has grown. It is very important that we encrypt credit card data, payment card data on the internet, and this is where HTTPS plays a huge role, right? And then finally, sharing, data or file or information between two organizations or between two users. For that, we have SSH or SFTP, where we use very high encryption like AES 256 or I don't know what else will come later. But AES 256 is the current strongest encryption that is available. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so as we are getting into greater adoption of AI and machine learning, we have to do a few things. One is, if you see, as the picture suggests, we have miles and miles of data centers these days, miles and miles of, these kind of racks and servers and so much of storage systems, so much data being stored, right? We even saw that Microsoft was building a data center under the ocean, on the ocean floor, right? The reason for doing it in the ocean floor is because you don't have to spend for air conditioning. Google has opened a lot of uh, data centers in the Scandinavian countries where it is cold throughout the year. You don't need to spend for air conditioning, right? Now, yeah, so many data centers have been built, and even in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, there are plenty of data centers that are being built. Okay, now the problem with data center, it's not the problem with data centers. The problem with many organizations is they do not know where their data resides. So automate data discovery. This is very important for AI ML. This is very important, and AI ML should be used for automating your data discovery, data classification. Now, how do you classify your data? There is multiple ways of classifying. The common way is whatever is available on the internet, that's public data. So you put, you classify that as public. Then you have internal data. Then you have confidential data. Then you have top secrets. Your intellectual property will be top secret, right? Now, anything that you store in these data storage systems has to be classified so that was, as I was talking about crown jewels in the past, we would know what your crown jewel is, and for that we are today using AI and ML, right? And then finally, risk assessments. We won't go deeper into that because risk assessments again is a bigger topic. Using AI for risk assessments will help in getting a better risk assessment done and identifying most of the risks, if not all. Okay, so this is important for enabling organizations to better protect sensitive data. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, now we talk about data, we talk about AI, we talk about ML, but one of the biggest worry is, are all the AI systems regulated? Now, for banks, we have regulators, right? Any bank around the world is regulated. For healthcare systems, we have regulators. For telecommunications, we have regulators. For insurance companies, we have regulators. But for AI companies, I don't think so, right? In fact, there's a lot of push for regulations in AI. Right. So worldwide, we already have data protection regulations. GDPR was implemented in May 2018, right? So it's been 7 years now since GDPR came into the picture. There is the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, which is also, very important to be compliant to. Right, so such data protection laws are becoming very common. Even in the UAE, there is a data protection law which is getting stronger day by day, and it is important. So the more stringent global regulations are, the better we can protect our data, right? And then organizations, they have to comply. See, having a law is the first step, but the most important step is for organizations to comply with these regulations to avoid hefty fines. Fines is one side, but reputational damage. The last thing you want is, your name in the headlines of the newspapers or your name in the television news saying that this particular company was hacked. And as I said, 2 days ago, WhatsApp was hacked and it was all over the news. And then some people were scared to open WhatsApp. Of course, people will be scared. We are still using it. But the reputational damage is done, right? And somebody just said ChatGPT was hacked. I was just talking about DeepSeek being hacked, and you name it. There are so many companies that have been hacked like that, right? One of the stories that I always say is, a credit rating company in the US was hacked several years ago, and this is a credit rating. I mean, the credit rating company collects a lot of data. They collect data about a person's spending habits, a person's personal information, a person's financial stability, all these things. So there is a lot of data about a person that they collect in order to give the credit rating. And when they got hacked, Equifax, that's the company's name. When they got hacked, it became a huge, global news, right? And Equifax never survived and never became what to say, a lot of people stopped using it because it was very difficult to come out of a reputational damage like that, right? So the last thing you want is your reputation being damaged, especially banks, right? It takes years and years to build a reputation, but it can be destroyed within seconds. So it has to be very carefully, all these regulations should be followed so that you can protect your reputation. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, and some of the other ways to do is zero trust. Zero trust is becoming very common nowadays. It is as simple as, yeah, I bring my laptop, which is a laptop given to me by my employer. I bring it to my office, and I put it on the network. I have to authenticate myself. So today on laptops, you have BitLocker, which comes, if it's a Windows laptop, you can encrypt the local hard drive using BitLocker. So you put in your BitLocker pin, then you have to authenticate yourself into the network, right? So there are network authentication control systems today, right? NAC systems which help you to make sure that this is a laptop that was given to me by my employer and it is legitimate to be on the network. Okay, so it is very important that anything that is coming in, whether it is an asset that belongs to the organization, it has to be authenticated. And similarly, users have to be authenticated. So when you walk into your organization, you would have an access badge, you would have a turnstile, you swipe your access card at the turnstile, and the turnstile reads your information and ensures that you are a staff in that particular organization, and only after that the turnstile would move and you can enter the premises, right? So all these, so this is zero trust. And zero trust coming into cybersecurity has been around for about 10 to 15 years now. It is becoming extremely important that zero trust security frameworks are fully implemented, so that data security can be, the data security posture can be held in a high position, right? So this approach helps to minimize the impact of security breaches by limiting access to sensitive data and resources. What does that mean? It means that even if a hacker is able to get into one system, it will be impossible for that hacker to jump from one system to the other. So even if one system is completely destroyed, the other systems in the network may be protected. So your damage is minimized. Okay. So in data security, that is extremely important. All right. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. We talked about global regulations, especially in supply chain. Okay, why this is important? Yeah, my organization may be following all the rules, but the vendors I work with, the third party contract companies that I work with, right, the suppliers that I work with, if they don't follow it, then the security vulnerabilities can always slip into my organization through these companies, these third parties, right? So supply chain security is very important, and a lot of criminals today target these supply chains. Now let's say there are organizations that a bank will be working with in order to provide the complete solution for any financial product that they put out, right? If let's say credit cards, the two major credit card processors in the world are Visa and MasterCard, right? Now, Visa and MasterCard are third-party entities for any bank. However, they use Visa and MasterCard to do the credit card processing or debit card processing, right? And Visa and MasterCard will use companies like Fiserv to do the processing as well. So there are multiple, third parties that are involved here, right? So in such a situation, if a third party is hacked, they can easily get into the hacker can the cyber criminal can get into your systems using the third party. So it is important that we are protecting our third party, or we are making sure our third party is properly secure. So third party risk management is becoming extremely important these days, as because we work with a lot of third party organizations, right? So organizations need to strengthen their supply chain security by conducting thorough due diligence and implementing robust security controls. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, and finally, we are coming to the end of our presentation. And so consumers, are becoming more aware of their data. See, I'll give you a very simple example. You go to the mall, you shop at an organization, sorry, a shop at a store, right? And let's say you're buying a couple of shirts. You buy you pick up the two shirts. You come to the billing counter, and you put the shirt on the counter, and the person will, the person behind the counter would scan the barcode or whatever tag that they have, right? Scan the tag, and the system will tell, okay, this shirt costs 200 dirhams each, right? So let's say 200 dirhams you're about to pay. But before you pay, most stores will say, okay, give me your phone number. And most of us give our phone number without even thinking what we are doing, because a lot of times this would be used for your loyalty. However, are you ensuring that the organization or the store that you are giving their information is securely storing it or not? How many times we ask this question? We don't. We just give our phone number. We just are happy to provide a lot of information, personal information, without even knowing that this data can be misused. So next time you go to the mall, and if anybody else is asking for your phone number, stop and ask them, why do you need it? Nothing wrong with it. It is your information, right? So consumers are becoming more aware of their data rights and are demanding greater control over their personal information. So this is very important. And similarly, organizations need to be transparent. So this is the store's responsibility, right? So you go to the store and they ask you for your information. Before you giving it, the store has to be transparent about their data practices. So let's say the cashier or the billing clerk immediately says, oh, we have the latest encryption algorithms, we have our data centers which are absolutely secure, we store all your data in an anonymous and tokenized way. Then you will be like, oh great, I don't think anybody says that, but that will be nice, right? It will be good to know that, isn't it? Okay, so organizations need to be transparent about their data practices and provide consumers with the ability to access, correct, and delete their data, right? So this is very important. And also, before you give your information, sometimes we give our information online also. Before you give your information, read the terms and conditions, read the data privacy clauses. A lot of us don't. 99% of people don't. Even I don't. Lot of times, right? But how important it is to read those clauses, read those terms and conditions, because your data can be misused anytime. Okay, so keep that in mind. With that, we come to the end of our presentation. I know I've been talking for almost 40 minutes now. So here we are opening up for some questions.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for the amazing presentation. And as we saw here, we tried to explore the intersection of AI and cybersecurity from a data-centric perspective. I know that we are having with us a number of our cybersecurity startup as part of CyberE71, and the way we are managing data, or we are building solutions, or even having AI defense mechanism while we are using LLMs is at the core of what our startup are doing. So I would like please to ask our startup present to raise their hand and share any question you may have with our experts. Please raise your hand.
There is one question. How important is securing and reinforcing chatbots like ChatGPT or any AI chatbot in comparison to the importance of securing a whole system? I think you just answered your own question, right? It is extremely important. We talked about a few things. Of course, in a keynote like this, we cannot touch every small aspect. Chatbots have become very popular these days, right? Even I use chatbots. For example, today any mobile phone banking app has a chatbot. See, those days what we used to do, if there is a question with our account, or if there is a suspicious transaction on your credit card bill, you would call the phone banking system. You would wait for 2 or 3 minutes before it authenticates you, before you go to the queue. You will be listening to that odd music they play, and before you speak to a person it will be 5 to 10 minutes, right? But chatbots have eliminated all that. Today, even a lot of banks do support through WhatsApp also. So chatbots, or even for technical support, today, those days you used to call the help desk, but today you have chatbots. You say that the mouse is not working. Simple thing, right? You put it in the chatbot. Chatbot will say, okay, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And then maybe your mouse is, gone. I will send you a replacement. So a technician will come with a new mouse, and you can start using it, right? So chatbots also gather a lot of data, especially if it is a phone banking system, sorry, a mobile banking system, or an internet banking system, or anything on the internet. It could be Amazon, it could be an e-commerce platform, right? They use chatbots also. So it has to be, chatbots have to be properly, same thing. It is about your data, encryption, data at rest, data in motion, data in process. These are the three major aspects that you should look at when you are encrypting your data. And if encryption is done properly, then yeah, your data is secure. What about social engineering? You're welcome. Social engineering, is always a headache. Now, social engineering doesn't, the end aim of any social engineer or anybody involving in social engineering is to get your data. But social engineering is something that you have to be aware of. So, employee awareness becomes very important. So you need to be constantly training your employees to detect social engineering, right? LinkedIn has become a big common platform for social engineering. People get on it and then they will start asking you, hey, how are you? You connect with somebody and then they'll say, it's nice that you're working for this organization. What does your organization do? And then you start explaining it and then they will slowly ask, okay, who is your CEO? And you will proudly say, this is my CEO. And inadvertently you are exposing data about your CEO, right? And that can always be utilized against you. Now, somebody else will get a call saying that, hey, I'm this person, I'm the CEO, I'm sitting in front of a client and I need something very immediately. Send me this data on WhatsApp. And if the employee is naive, they will, without knowing, send the data on WhatsApp. Unfortunately, that WhatsApp number would actually be would belong to some cyber criminal, and the criminal would easily get the data. Right? I've put it in very simple terms of how social engineering works. So social engineering can be, the only way social engineering can be eliminated is how you train your employees to detect such social engineering attempts and close it down. Okay, so that is where it becomes. That's how it is done. That's how it should be done, basically. Yeah. Okay, we have for startups. Okay, thank you for your insights. Beyond regulations and security measures, based on your expertise, what are the most overlooked factors that influence client trust in AI-driven cybersecurity solutions, and how can a startup proactively address them? See, so this is a very generic question. What I would advise is, when you are in a startup environment, every year try to bring in a third-party cybersecurity expert. You don't have to spend too much by going for some of the big companies. There are also smaller companies that do this. Bring in a system expert to do a gap assessment or a security audit. Let them come and audit your systems. Let them see what controls you have, what risk assessments you do, how you do your risk acceptance, or how you do your vulnerability management, how you do your third party risk management, right? Let them come and analyze and give it to you. Do a benchmarking, right? These are ways that you can do that you can analyze yourself and say that, okay, this is where I stand, right? Doing this by yourself as a startup is going to be difficult. This may cost you a little bit of money. Of course, startups have tight budgets, but uh, you know, um, uh, build that into your system and say that, okay, bring in a third party, let them do an end-to-end analysis, let them find the vulnerabilities and tell you, so that you will be able to, proactively address them. Okay, that is one way of doing it. This is not the only solution. Or you should build your cybersecurity teams which can do this as well. Now, as a startup, that is also going to be expensive, right? So think about what is your the way you can judiciously justify your expenses, right? And then do it that way. Okay. um, Next question: for startups, security is something very integral. Other than using AI to test our systems, what is your professional advice on how we can secure our system? So I just gave you that um, answer. There is other ways of doing it is, there are managed security service providers. So as a startup, you don't have to build your complete cybersecurity from ground up, right? There are a lot of service providers according to your needs and your budgets. You can bring in a service provider who can do this for you. Okay, so that I think is probably one of the better solutions to secure your systems. Okay, and just as I answered the previous question, do an annual audit just to see, the audits can expose the blind spots that you will miss. Okay, so do an annual audit, which will be much beneficial to you. All right. Next question. Employee security awareness is vital in organizations, especially when it comes to social engineering, as they are both the first and the last line of defense. Yeah, you answered your question again, and we talked about it in the last slide as well. And somebody else also, Salah, had asked that question, right? About social engineering. It is not just social engineering. It could be, phishing. It could be wishing, right? There are lots of calls that we get in the UAE, right? People call and say, we are calling from the ministry of this, right? That kind of ministry is not there. Somebody called me and they said, we are calling from the ministry of Emirates ID. I said, there is no ministry like that. They said, no, 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 we have to check your Emirates ID. For that, please, I'm going to initiate a UAE pass authentication. Please authenticate yourself. You know what I said? I said, okay, first you give me your Emirates ID number. I will do my authentication, and then we can, talk about me. The guy just hung up his phone. See, I have been in cybersecurity for a long time, so I very confidently told this guy, don't do this, right? This is my way of saying it. But you should be able to, identify these fake calls. Now there are attacks that come through Emirates Post. The Emirates Post sends you an SMS when there is a package coming for you. Now there are fake SMSs come where they say your package is stuck somewhere. You have to pay 200 dirhams to get the package out, and a lot of people innocently pay it, and the money is lost, gone. Now if it is 200 dirhams, it's a significant money, but it's not too much. Some people pay more amount also, right? So this is where awareness becomes very important. People have to be aware of such attacks and ensure that they don't lose money to online frauds and scams. Yeah.
Thank
Any
you
other
very
questions?
much, Patrick. Maybe an additional 5 minutes for our audience to ask if you have any additional question.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks for all your thank you messages. Yeah.
So maybe one question for you, Patrick, as part of FAB. What is your experience working with the startups, especially in the cybersecurity domain?
So, see, FAB as an organization has always been open to work with, startup organizations. See, we have a RFP system. Okay, request for proposals. So let's say there is a need inside, our teams will open it up for multiple um, vendors to participate. And so when an RFP goes out, it is important. Let's say you receive the RFP. It is important that you participate. You shouldn't say that no, I don't do it, right? Unless you participate in an RFP, you will not get that experience, right? You may think, oh, FAB is a big organization. Now, FAB, let's put that as a variable, right? It could be FAB or Mashreq or Emirates NBD or ADCB or RAC Bank, doesn't matter. These are all big banks, right? Now, any bank, when they open up for an RFP, participate in it. Don't say we don't do it, because you can always find a solution. Okay. Now, if it is not your core competency, then don't do it. But if this is something that you think can be done, participate in it. Okay. And when you participate in it, you get a huge amount of experience working with a bigger organization, how the RFP is done, how you can position yourself, how you can do the demos, how you can do a POC, right? And this will give you more experience. First or second, the first one or two, you may fail, but in the third one, you will succeed. And let's say that is a good bank, one of the bigger banks in the Abu Dhabi or Dubai region. You get into that bank, you become a partner, and there you go. You have bagged your first big order, and that will then pivot you to get more orders. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Thank you, Patrick. And you touch upon an important point when it comes to data security, data leakages, and as well different mechanism to counter this. But in your view, are there any specificities when we are talking about data security when it comes to the GCC region versus the globe or UAE more specifically?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think today the GCC region is up there with all the global counterparts. I don't think there is we are lagging in any way. However, when it comes to GCC, I think people have to be more, aware of, or aware is not the right word. They have to be more, uh, how do you put it? Conscious, conscious of what data you share with others. Okay, don't, just because somebody is asking, don't just go ahead and share your data. Okay, understand who's asking for what data and share only that is absolutely required. Because I think in this part of the world, people just are open to share things without much thought, right? I'm not saying everybody does it, but sometimes people do it, right? And if you have done that in the past, think about it, multiple times before you share any data, because once your data goes out, getting it back is very difficult. Okay, so don't blindly trust people, right? Question who is asking for what, why they need that system, authenticate them before you give anything, right? And that way, I think your personal data can be saved. As I said, when you're going to a new e-commerce site and if they are asking you to say yes to terms and conditions, always at least quickly read through it, right? And find out what data they are collecting, what data they will be retaining. For example, people don't like to put their credit card data all the time into an e-commerce system. So what they do, they let the e-commerce system store the credit card data. Now, if that e-commerce system gets broken into, your credit card data can be lost as well, right? Can be stolen as well, right? So think of it. Think of it. It may take 2 minutes for you to enter your credit card data, and you can do it every time, right? But giving it to a third party and then if at all there is a hack and your credit card data is lost, then the hacker can get into your system, use that information to completely take away all the money in your credit card. So be careful. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. So really here a big emphasis on the awareness, cybersecurity awareness, data security awareness, and as well all the opportunities that the startups part of CyberE71 can benefit from. Thank you very much again for being with us, Patrick. Thank you to all the ecosystem and our startup, and we really look forward to a continuous interaction outside of this keynote. Patrick, just maybe a last one. Where can our startups and audience find you if they want to reach out to you?
I am fairly active on LinkedIn. If you just as far as I know, I'm the only Patrick Pitchappa in the world, so it's a very unique name. So if you search for Patrick Pitchappa, you will be able to find me on LinkedIn. I'm not on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram. No time for it, but I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. So if you can connect with me, that will be great. And as a parting message, I would say, don't forget your basics. We talked about, data security, but there are the basics is, for example, having a strong password, having, other basic systems to secure your, like, an up-to-date antivirus or an EDR. These are all things that are very important for cybersecurity. Okay, so keep all that in mind. Change your passwords at least every 3 months. If you can do it every month, it will be even more effective. So keep doing that. I know it's a pain, but you have to do it. If you want to, secure yourself and your data, you must do it. Okay. But look me up on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and see you next Thursday. Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, everyone, again.